PHP 5.3 has some useful date functions that I want to show you. Date add and date sub seem to be very useful in particular. They're marked as experimental, but because they make the adding of days, hours, and years to a date so easy, I think they're worth looking into. Here's how you would use it. Let's say you have a date equals new date time, and let's give it a date here in this format with particular time. So now we have a date time, and now we say this is the original date, for instance. And we'll display it in a particular format: year, month, date, hours, minutes, seconds. So, and let's add the break. So we'll take a look at that in the browser. 5, and so we see the original date. Now let's add 5 days to that. So you do that like this: date add, put the date in, and then a new date interval. And this has a kind of odd syntax: P for date, and then 5 days, for instance. So now the date variable is the same plus 5 days. So let's take a look at that. By displaying it, we'll say plus 5 days, and it just displays the date again. Let's take a look at that in the browser. And we have the 31st of December, 16:30 and 30 seconds, and here we have the 5th of January in the next year at the same time. So that has added 5 days to our date time. Now let's add 7 hours to that. So we'll say date add, date, new date interval. Now you have to have the P if you're going to do time, and then T for time, and 7 hours. So, and let's print that out after 7 hours has been added to the date that had already 5 days added to it. So we'll call this plus 7 hours because the original variable is being changed. So now that we added 7 hours to it, let's look at that in the browser again, F5. And we have here the 5th of January at 16:30. Now it's the 5th of January 7 hours later at 23:30. So now let's add 2 days, 5 hours, and 2 minutes. The way you do that, basically it's just a matter of syntax. New date interval, and we have P for the date, 2 days. Then you have to put in a T for saying that you're going to do, or you're going to add time now, and then 5 hours and 2 minutes. So that's the syntax to do that. So let's copy this. And we will go ahead and type this out: plus 2 days, 5 hours, and 2 minutes. And let's go to the browser and check it. And so now it is added 2 days, 5 hours, and 2 minutes. And we have the 5th of January, and now it's the 8th of January because it added 2 days. Then adding the 5 hours, it went over to 4:30, and then it added the 2 minutes. So you see, this is a very convenient way to add years, days, hours, minutes, seconds to times that you have in your application. Date sub does the same thing, it just subtracts, so you can use that too.